Hello, everyone, and welcome to this bright and early Saturday morning edition of Gaarawarr's Guides. We are finally here on our actual time slot, so Saturdays 9 a.m. for this new focused show. As you can see, we even had a new little stream art at the beginning there. It's Gaarawarr's Guide. Today it's Gaarawarr's Guide to Divine Blessings, or excuse me, to Divine Favor and Blessings. I think of them as roughly the same system, and we're going to talk about why today. But we will be doing this on the format. Again, it is a new show, unlike Gaarawarr's Guide to Everything, where you're just asking questions the whole time and I'm answering questions the whole time. We'll be focusing on these topics for roughly the first hour, so that you can get a nice deep dive into that. If you do have questions, go ahead and put them in chat. We've got Jay helping out on the CNA Games account. Put question : in front of your question so that they can make sure they see it and grab it. We want to get as many questions as possible from chat into the show during the Q&A portion, which will start in the second half. So, settle in, and let's get started. So, one of the main questions people ask right away, or suddenly get thrust upon them without understanding what it is what the heck is divine favor? People talk about it. Usually veterans talk about it because we just kind of assume people understand what it is, but new players may start the game and not even know what divine favor is, what it does, why you want it. So we're going to touch on that today. Structurally, if you've played other clicker idle games, there is kind of a core functionality in those games where you play through the whole game, and then you get to a certain point where you just can't get any further, and you reset the game and start from scratch, but you get a bonus based off how far you went. This is the functionality, basically, of Divine Favor in Idle Champions, except instead of trying to play through all the content in the game and then resetting, each individual adventure is effectively what you're resetting after. You're pushing that adventure as far as you can go, earning as much as you can, and then resetting and starting your next adventure with that nice bonus and power. So right now, as you'll see on my screen, I'm kind of doing an automated adventure, pushing through levels, but if I come up here to the complete adventure button, you can see that it's tracking how much favor I'm earning. And when I go to reset, it tells me that I'm going to get this much favor that will be applied to my overall favor, and that's going to help me out on a future run. We'll go a little more in depth about how that works specifically in a moment. In fact, I think I may switch over to a different account here so you can see one that's more of a new player account. Sitting there farming, trying to get favor. As you can see, it's saying I'm getting a 72% increase, whatever that means, right? We're going to go over that today. So this divine favor is part of this kind of beginning foundational system of the game where you're playing the game and then you're resetting, getting more power and pushing further in each adventure. So the first time you start the game, when you have no divine favor, the gods aren't shining down upon you yet because you're brand new. In your campaign, you will have 0 favor and you will need to earn some. In fact, sometimes that means you're going to have maybe after your first adventure 8 or 9 favor when you're done, but later you'll have thousands. This is kind of the point of in the beginning. You're basically running the adventure, restarting, getting more favor, doing that over and over again for more power. Favor is created by earning all of this gold you see falling on the screen. The more gold you get in a run, the more favor you get afterwards. So you can see, watch, every time it picks up, we're a little high, but every time it picks up gold, it's going to make a small increase. I'm pretty far in on this run, so you're not seeing a major jump each time, but there, it just went up to 9.66. So it's going to continue to increase slowly, 9.69 now, every time we sweep up some of this gold. When we reset, then we will see the benefits of that. During the run, all we get is the gold, and we use the gold, obviously, to level up our champions and push further, however you wish to do so. So why does this system exist in this game? Well, again, we kind of talked about this is one of the core functions of an idle game, is you push as far as you can, but at some point, what you're doing isn't going to be enough, and you need to reset, grab those permanent bonuses that are always going to be there, or semi-permanent bonuses and move on. So basically, you access this again by running an adventure. We're up into the hundreds right now. When you're as far as you can go, you can't level up any further. You're not getting any greens, and when you do level up, it's not helping you get past the next level. You come up, click this button to reset. It says it'll send you back to the realm map. Your champion's levels get reset for the next adventure. So everything goes back to just having, Bruenor or whoever you had out first. You have to then, in the next adventure, earn gold to level back up and pick up these champions again. But what happens is this divine favor gets carried over. All of your divine favor, as you can see, based on the 1.44 E21, we're using scientific notation, gold collected this adventure, you will have, I will get this bonus of almost 1 EO5 favor, so 9.94 EO4. I already have some favor in Torm. That is the Sword Coast campaign. And it's already helping me on this adventure, letting me get this far. Normally, when you start, you're lucky to get to 50, 55, 60. As you get more favor, you're going to be able to push further and further into your adventures. So what exactly does the Divine Favor do for you? Specifically, Divine Favor... in its default state, becomes Gold Find on your next run. So as you can see, like we said here, Torm's Favor, 1.32 EO5. Well, that becomes the base amount of Gold Find up here that I have on my next adventure. So I'm at 1 EO6 basically, because I'm getting a bonus. Jarlaxle has a Gold Find bonus. He is affecting this and raising it up. Normally, it would just be this flat. It would be 132 EO5 if I have no Gold Find champions. We can actually see that by removing Jarlaxle and seeing that our base Gold Find is now 132 EO5, perfectly matching our blessings. This is the kind of the very basic function of Divine Favor, is to make it so that you earn more gold on your next run, because gold in the beginning of the game becomes the power that you use on your champions, right? You take this gold and you level up your champions, like I just did with Nayeli, and that allows you to get a little further on. We'll go ahead and see if we've got enough to move past this next boss. Now, the other thing that you can do with your favor, and this is kind of another function, this is why I said it's kind of semi-permanent in this game, in a sense, because increasing your gold find isn't its only function. As we see, I'm hovering over this button that's called Blessings, as this is why we're talking this together. The other thing you can do with your favor is spend it on these blessings that are available in the campaign that you're in. Right now, I've only been in the Sword Coast campaign, so I only have access to Torm's Favor, but I have access to these blessings that I can buy. We're going to go over exactly what they do in a bit. But by converting some of our favor into these permanent blessings, we get more damage or more bonuses, basically, for future runs. General tips and tricks people will try to point out for you when it comes to favor. We're going to cover a couple of these here. Make sure, like I'm doing here, that you push each of your regular adventures that you're doing as far as you can to gain as much favor as possible. So this was actually left overnight. I've got to sleep sometime, folks. So I closed the game. I didn't leave it open. I could have left it open all night if I wanted to leave my computer on, but there's also offline progress now that lets it continue working in the background even when you want to shut it down and go to bed. It will earn that gold for me and help me push further, and I can earn as much as possible on a run by basically pushing as deep as I can go and earning as much as I can every single time. Now, what do I mean by your adventures, pushing an adventure? When we come out here to our map screen, any of these base notes here that just say, like, Terror in the Dark, Unearthed Ether, Beast Intentions, any of them that are kind of these top level notes here are adventures. And any of these that come down underneath of this and says with the little arrows in the boxes underneath, these are variants of those adventures. So this is, the Cursed Farmer has a very specific structure and layout in terms of the enemies you're facing. Each of its variants, including the one that I've already completed, Are You Chicken? These are functions. These are the same adventure in terms of the enemies that appear for the most part. You have to complete a higher level under a variant, and to complete them. And they come with restrictions, like this one removes 4 slots in your formation. This one has mad cows that spawn randomly. And this one has cursed slots in the formation. So they each have these different rules. You don't necessarily push these super far for favor because those rules make it very difficult for you to progress in most cases. So you want to push these base adventures when you're doing them the first time, and then after you've completed them once, you'll note it, instead of just saying like Terror in the Dark down here, uncompleted, Beast Intentions says that it is now a free play, so we can play this as much as we want, over and over and over again, which is what I'm doing on this account. I'm doing a Beast Intentions free play. And you can do that specifically to push deep and get extra favor. Now, one of the things you want to keep in mind when doing this is there is going to be a point when you're pushing where things become very difficult, where I won't be able to kill anything, where, Jarlaxle is stabbing in from behind here, and he's doing some good damage, but eventually he's not going to really make a dent on anything. And we're not going to be able to move forward anymore. We're going to probably fall back a couple levels. And you're going to be farming favor, and you'll watch, as you see, like it says that there's an increase here. At some point it's going to slow down, and you're not going to see that increase go up at all, even after 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. It's not going to go anywhere. That's what's considered as your wall. You want to farm at your wall generally until it slows down like that, and then reset. That way you're getting as much favor as you can get, or roughly within reason. Ultimately, it's about efficiency. So keep that in mind when you're pushing to gain favor on your missions. Early on, when you first start the game and you're just using these core champions down here, all the way up to Archon, these first 12 slots, one of the ways you can gain extra gold during your mission and gain extra favor is via a function of Makos. He has a Dark Luck specialization, where when he lands the killing blow on an enemy, they drop more gold. So one thing you can do here is if you wait until you get a huge stack of enemies like this, get them built up, and then use his ultimate, which is currently on cooldown, so we can't use it right away. When he kills all of these, he generates bonus gold based off the amount that you're getting as a function of your item level and the level of Dark Luck. So we would be getting 375% more gold from a kill than we normally would if we killed all these with his ultimate. Early on, that's one of the better ways to farm gold. Later on, you're going to unlock, hopefully, a champion called Azaka, who is in the Tomb of Annihilation campaign. She's another way to farm massive, massive amounts of gold and thus get a large amount of favor for you to help push through your campaigns with. So keep that in mind. Those are kind of the two major kind of gold-generating champions. Obviously, there's a lot of champions that have gold find, like Jarlaxle, we said, boosts your gold find. He's giving us the bonus that we have, or he was before he died here. He's giving us the bonus that we were getting on top of there. There are other champions that do that as well. So, finding a balance between the power to push and generating gold is one of the formation building strategies you use in this game. We will discuss formation strategies in a future Gaarawarr's guide. So the final tip, don't focus only on favor for progression. So this is one of the main foundational systems of progression, kind of what I call the pillars of progression. It is just one of them. Another is the item system that lets you kind of multiply the effects of abilities and the damage of champions. There's also things like a perk system. There are Modron cores that give you buffs now. There are a variety of other ways that you can earn power and progression in the game. So limiting yourself to just one is going to be problematic at a certain point. You can get very far just focusing on favor early on, but just remember that you want to spread You want to spread that love around all the pillars of progression so that you get a nice balance of ways that you can progress. Because eventually you're going to hit a point where favor isn't going to do anything for you. Getting more gold and having more gold in runs eventually just won't help you push any further. And that's what all these other systems are for. A couple questions that we usually see asked about divine favor. Is there a limit to how much favor you can earn when you're pushing in any given adventure, plus just in general? And the answer is no. Technically, there isn't a limit. The way you are limited in each adventure is just based on how far you can push. So, like right now, again, I'm earning, EO5, a Torm's Favor EO5 bonus, 90% increase on what I had previously at this point, if I were to stop right now. As you get more and more power, both by items and through the blessings and through the perks and all those other pillars of progression, you'll be able to push super far. You can earn, E20, E30, E40 favor off runs. It's basically the actual limit is based on how much power you have and how far you can push. And that's both in terms of any given individual run and how much you can earn that gets banked up here and becomes or how much you earn as gold, and then how much gets actually banked into your Torm's Favor's blessings. How much favor should you try to get each run is another question we get a lot. There isn't actually a number that you shoot for. There also isn't a percent that you shoot for. Because as you can see, this is at 120 EO5. If we go look at my other account, on this run, I don't really care about favor. And yet I have 2 E19 favor. But as you'll notice, that's a less than 1% increase on this account because my favor here is in the E42 range for Torm. So the values you're shooting for are going to be kind of subjective to your progress. So you don't want to think about it in terms of an actual number, like how much am I getting this in this run. You want to look at how much is that percent increase, but also are you even at a point where you can push deep and get a large increase? Like sometimes you're only going to get 20% increase, and eventually that'll be what you gain off doing a run, and you'll have to find other ways to boost your favor. So the most important thing is when you're pushing and you get to your wall, like we're pretty close to a wall here based off the fact that I was dying and couldn't beat that boss without using ultimates. If at some point when I stop being able to level up champions, I'm going to be at my wall. Whatever a favor bonus I end up at when I get there is going to be, roughly where I'm at. That's just it. It's more about paying attention to that gradual decrease in your ability to push, and then when you do get stuck on one level and you're not able to level up anymore, when do you really start losing that increase over time? We're at 94% now. We'll sweep this up and see if we go up. But yeah, 95. So if it takes a while, 10 plus minutes or more, for me to go up 1%, that isn't efficient for me anymore. It is much more efficient for me to just reset, use all of this favor on a new run, and I'll be able to push further and push faster than I was before because I'll be able to level up my champions faster and level them up further than I did on my previous run. One other big major important factor in kind of your increase in progression and gaining favor comes from both time gates and events. When you do a time gate or you do an event, time gates are miniature events. We'll discuss these in another Gaarawarr's guide in the future at some point. One of the bonuses alongside unlocking champions and unlocking gear for them in these features is at the end of your run, you'll be able to take all of the favor that you earned while doing that event or time gate and use that to multiply one of your base campaigns. So if I had done a time gate and I'd earned E10 favor in a time gate, because you can push, or we'll just say E5. Let's say I earn another E5 favor in a time gate. That turns into a 50% multiplier onto my main campaign, which means because you get 10% per every EO1 in an event. Well, event or time gate, whatever. If it was an event and I was earning EO5, I would multiply this back in, just so we're clear. I would multiply this back into my main campaign at a 50% bonus. So I would get 50% of 1.32 EO5 that gets added to this, which is what? 5 something EO4, which would take me to 1.8 EO5. It's a nice little addition. It doesn't sound like a lot when you're just getting 50 or 60%, but eventually, as you gain more and more favor, that becomes 100% and 200% and 300%. So it ends up being a very good way to multiply your main campaigns, and it can be any campaign you've earned favor in already. Time gates do convert at a lower amount. That's why I had to stop myself. If you earned EO5 favor in a time gate, that's only about a quick math 12.5% bonus, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a much smaller conversion from a time gate, but it still is another way to add favor later on. Well, all the time, but later on it becomes more significant because pushing deep with favor in a campaign as you get deeper into the game doesn't necessarily get you as much favor anymore. So that's going to be the general idea behind favor, but to talk more about favor, we have to talk about blessings. So we're going to do that now. So the blessing system, again, accessed up here, functions off of the favor you earn and spending that favor. As you can see, I've spent 50 favor before this. I put 1 point into extra training with 50 favor. I can spend all of this or none of this. Again, we want to keep in mind a bit of a balance, and we'll talk about that here in a moment, but we want to utilize this favor to earn us progress through here. If you haven't done a campaign before, because I haven't even touched the Tomb of Annihilation campaign on this account yet, it will show you coming soon. They're there already, but because you haven't earned any favor there, it's not going to show it to you currently. What has to happen is that you have to go earn some favor there, reset, and then refresh your game, and all of those blessings will show up just like they do over here. So blessings are effectively the place you spend your favor to gain permanent bonuses. Once you've purchased these, this isn't just for a specific run. I have extra training. It's plus that 1 point in extra training is giving me 50% more damage for all of my champions. That's going to let me push a little further on each run and thus gain more gold and thus gain more favor, right? It's a nice little cycle that gives you progress. You don't utilize favor any other way than this, though. Favor is either sitting here banked, increasing your gold find, or you're spending it. Once you spend it, it reduces your total and thus reduces gold find on your next run. So you have to keep things balanced and make sure you're not spending too much. But this is the function. This is the only way you spend favor. And it is one of the reasons why you want to push and get more favor, not just because you're getting more gold find, but also because you're converting that favor into these major bonuses, which can be a bigger bonus than just having some more gold on your next run. That 50 favor that I got, the bonus I was getting from that 50 favor was going to be less than the 50% damage bonus I'm getting off extra training. There are two kinds of blessings. As you can see in this we're using the PC UI here, so other systems the UI may look a little different, but the ones here on the left, these first 3, extra training, speedy attacks, and divine blessing, these are what are called local blessings. These will only function in the Sword Coast campaign. So whatever campaign you're in that has these on the left, these first 3, these are only going to work when I'm pushing in Sword Coast. The one on the right is what's referred to as a global blessing. So double damage, all champion damage times 2 over all campaigns, but that also works in time gates and events. So anywhere you're playing in the game, this one is going to function. It's also super expensive. Right now, that would use up the bulk of what we have. It would only double our damage. That's why it's much more efficient right now to just spend over here, because I could put, well, I've already spent 50 to get 50%. I could spend another 100, and that would get us 100%, which is the equivalent of this, right? The difference here is while these are super expensive to get, they do work everywhere, whereas these are only in Sword Coast. So these are kind of your long-term goal at the beginning, and these are the short-term goals that are going to help you push in that campaign. But as you start bouncing between campaigns and doing, this is Meister as a time gate, doing events, you're going to want these global blessings. So keep that in mind. This is the nice bonus that favor gives you in progression, not only in its own campaign, but then thus helping you progress across other campaigns and in events and time gates. So what exactly is the function? Why do we care about all of this? Again, we want these specific bonuses. There are lots of these bonuses. As you can see, there's currently 4 tiers of these blessings, and the costs go up throughout them all. There are currently 4 primary campaigns. We've got Sword Coast. Let me get my fingers on the screen. Sword Coast, Tomb of Annihilation, Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus, Waterdeep Dragon Heist, and coming up soon, Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frost Maiden. So we will then have 5. Each of those will have blessings. Again, they'll have local blessings, and then they'll have the global blessings. So every single one of those campaigns is going to let you both earn things that are going to help you push further in it and complete it, but also to give you damage that you can carry over into future campaigns, to let you just progress in general deeper overall. This is one of the main things that people get really excited about in the game, is when they add more blessings, like if they add more tiers. This one currently has 4 tiers. There are a couple campaigns that only have 3 tiers. A lot of people would like to see that 4th one so they have more power, both, again, inside that campaign, but also across all campaigns. And a new campaign getting added completely adds lots of blessings, which means it adds lots of power, letting you push even further than you have before in anywhere. So how do you access this? Again, we kind of talked about that. It's through the button. Once you've earned some favor, you'll be able to access the blessing screen. If you haven't done anything in that campaign yet, if you have, and there shows numbers up here and it still shows coming soon, either like I'm on WebGL, hard refresh the web page, or restart your client on PC. Probably the same with mobile or console. Sometimes it just doesn't notice right away, and you gotta smack it and make it notice. But then they'll show up, and then you can start spending that favor. Ultimately, as you're working through here, you want to keep in mind, as we talk about kind of when you should use it, when do you want to buy. When you look at the amount that you have and the cost, you kind of have to do some hard math. If we go out here, since we're dealing with some low numbers, I will change this back over to normal numbers. I've been playing this so long, I'm so used to scientific notation. But if we look here, I have roughly 131,000 favor. Spending 100 doesn't seem like that's too much to ask. It should be a pretty easy spend. And as you note, I can just click this, and I'm not getting any warnings, so I'm getting more power. Now I'm up to 100%. So basically, each time I put a point into this, it's going to boost this by 50%, specifically for this extra training nod. There I can do 200, 400, 800. At some point, the game is going to... I have warnings enabled up here. This is super important. At some point, the game is going to give me a warning. Hey, it's almost like I knew that was coming. And tell me that maybe I'm spending a little too much. This is super important. Make sure you keep your warnings enabled as a newer player. At some point, you can turn them off, but even I, as a veteran, I just leave them on because there's kind of no reason not to. It's going to throw you this notification. Are you sure you want to spend 1,600 Torm's favor? Be careful to balance how you spend favor on blessings. Blessings provide powerful bonuses. Unspent favor greatly increases your gold find. Spending too much favor can greatly reduce your rate of progress. Yeah. Because while you are converting your favor into permanent power, you are losing gold find, and gold find is power as well. So you have to balance, find a balance, healthy balance between those two things. You can come down a certain amount in your gold find as long as you're converting into something powerful enough to help you move forward. This warning is the generally accepted indicator on when you've spent too much. When it pops up, nope, right out, and find something else to spend your money on. So now I'm up. I went from 50% at the start of this run. Now I'm up to 250% bonus. So that should hopefully, along with maybe upgrading some stuff down here, help us go a little further. And we'll see if that's the case in the background. Oh, let me find my place here. Okay, so some tips and tricks to favor or favor and blessings before we go over each of the blessings that we have here. Focus on earning the first global blessing in each campaign, kind of as your major milestone when you're pushing forward. The global blessings are the first tier in tier 1. Every campaign's tier 1 so far is a double damage blessing that works everywhere. So just doing enough in a campaign to earn this, and then bouncing to a different campaign, and then doing enough over there to earn this first one, that's kind of a good way to grab a lot of power in those campaigns early on, because to unlock this one, usually you end up unlocking all of this, like fleshing out all of these first 3 local blessings and grabbing this before bouncing. This lets you then go back when you decide to push deeper in one specific campaign. You'll have a bunch of double damage bonuses, and you'll already have at least 1 tier in the campaign that you're going in. The only one to watch out for right now is Descent into Avernus. That is a very difficult campaign. You may not be able to jump in as a new player and grab that tier 1 bonus easily. So grab the 3 from Torm, Sword Coast, and Waterdeep, and then hop back into whichever of those first 3 kind of starter campaigns that you want, and go from there. Spin your favor on the blessings that are going to give you the most bang for your buck up front. So again, I spent for straight damage. This one down here, Divine Blessing, increases the favor I earn from resets by 2%. So this is super nice. It's kind of a snowball type blessing where you're spending favor to get more favor in the future. I'm not, we can get 2% more. I'm not going to be able to buy that 4,000 one. But you don't necessarily want to, even if you want more favor, you don't necessarily want to say yes to this, because it may not be super efficient for you. And it may also be that, like, this one is speedy attacks. I'm not super excited about attacking 0.05 seconds faster right now. As I gain more damage by filling this one up, there will come a point where buying this is negligible. Right now, 750 is still a pretty decent amount. I mean, it's not a ton. I could do this, but do I really care about 0.05 second increase on my attack damage? That's probably not what's keeping me from progressing at the moment. So as I start out through my adventure in Torm, so through the Sword Coast, I'm going to focus on extra training and the Divine Blessing. After I max these out, I'm going to look for this, and at some point then I'll have enough favor where I don't care, and I'll buy all these, and it's fine. So use some intelligence, read it, see what it does, think about it. Like, is it going to really give me a lot of power? And then make your decision about where you're focusing your favor on early, and don't just buy it because you can. Sometimes, I'm not going to call that a trap. It's not. This attacking faster does help, but this may not help as much as this right now. And it may not help more than the gold is right at the beginning. So, even though you can buy it without that warning pop-up, doesn't necessarily mean you should. That is just a guide. It isn't necessarily a rule. So some basic questions that people usually ask. Can I buy if it gives me a warning? I mean, you can. You're welcome to spend your favor any way you want. Just recognize that you could get into trouble spending deep in this. So if I just to say, hey, I want all the favor, I'm at 129. If I just go, you know what, I'm going to buy it anyway. I'm just going to buy them all because all I care about is favor. Well, suddenly I'm down to 45,000 favor. I've spent a ton of it. It's only going to get me 8% more, but the problem is I'm not going to be able to push very far on this run now. Like, I'll watch my damage fall off. I'll watch the gold find fall off real quick by spending that much. Fortunately, the game does offer you the ability to fix with the big blue reset buttons. Reset all your upgrades and get divine favor back for a price. Now, doesn't doesn't tell you with this tooltip what that price is, but it's roughly 1% of what you've spent. So we're going to go ahead. You'll be refunded 85.6 thousand favor. Notice I had spent 86.5, so I am losing a little bit here just because I accidentally spent more. But it's better for me to lose that and get my favor back and then spend smarter here than to just lose it and not have it at all. I will put that 1 point back there, but this is where I'm going to stay for my Torm run. The other questions that we get all the time are, what exactly does X, Y, and Z blessings do? So I'm going to go over each of those in turn, but to do that, I'm going to need an account that's actually got them all completed. I am going to move this back to the boss level and real quick show you what Circle of Death does, and we'll see if I can actually kill this stuff. Looks like I've got enough damage to him. So we'll let the boss come up, and I'm actually going to pull Jarlaxle out here because I want all of the creatures here, and I want to get this bonus, hopefully, from killing with Makos, like I was talking about earlier, about making a little extra money. I'm going to stun everyone so that people don't die. I'm going to get in here. Jarlaxle is going to kill a bunch of stuff just because he's got way too much damage at the moment, and then I'm going to pop Circle of Death. Oh, no, didn't have enough power. Oh well, we're close. That's one of the things you have to watch. If I was setting up to farm with Makos, I would want to build up a formation around that, and then find a level where when I hit that ultimate, everything dies instantly. That's kind of the key to farming with him. We will go ahead and finish this boss off, though. There we go. And I will let this idle in the background. And we'll go to my main account, where there's a pop-up telling you to come watch. Oh, but you're already here. Look at that. Okay, so all the blessings and all the favor. As you can see, there are way more things up here on this list than there were before. The vast majority of these are events. So Tempest's favor, Azu's favor, Savras' favor. These are the events. These are the divine favor that you get from certain events in the game. There are 17 separate events. Maestra's is for time gates specifically. So as you can see, you don't get to keep the favor here. These are the conversions that go back to those main accounts or the main campaigns when you do that. But if we look back, we have Sword Coast, Kalimvor, which is the Tomb of Annihilation, Helm's favor, which is Waterdeep Dragon Heist, and Tiamat's favor, which is Descent into Avernus. We don't yet know, I believe, what Rime of the Frost Maiden is going to be in terms of what heavenly being we are going to be getting favor from. But here in the Sword Coast, which is the first campaign you're going to be in, we start off, like I said, with the Tier 1. This is going to go all the way through Tier 4. Extra Training is going to increase your damage for each point you put into it by 50%. As you see, the max gets up to 1,000% bonus, so it does end up being super nice. Speedy Attacks gets you that 0.05 second increase for each of those, maxes out at 0.25, which again isn't a huge amount, but considering that everyone's attacking constantly over and over and over again, it can add up ultimately and increase your damage per second, letting you kill things quicker and thus letting your tanks potentially survive. So it is beneficial ultimately, but early on you want to kind of focus on the straight damage. The Divine Blessing one maxes out at 10%, basically increases your favorite earned from resets. So that's, if we come up here and we look, and I click this, I'm going to be getting this bonus. This is 10%. This is the 10% bonus I'm getting from having that blessing. So it's just adding a little bit on top of every time you reset a run, which you're going to be doing lots and lots of resets, thousands, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of resets over the course of your time in this game. As a newer player, obviously, you might have 10 hours or 100 hours or a couple hundred hours. Veterans have over 10,000 hours. There might be some out there that have over 20,000 hours at this point after 3 years of the game going. So, having those resets and getting that bonus from all those resets can be a nice little boost on all your runs. Again, we talked about all the tier 1s have this double damage bonus. Tier 2, heavy hitters. Increases DPS of all champions by 25% if their base attack cooldown is greater than 4 seconds. This is balanced with quick hitters, which does the opposite. It's for people whose base attack cooldown is 4 seconds or lower. So early on when you get to this, when you get to the tier 2, you're going to want to look at your primary DPS and decide which one of these you want to focus on. So I'm using a few different DPS characters in this formation, but if we look at Hitch, his is a 4.15 second cooldown currently, considering everything that's going on. So he would fall into this heavy hitter category. So if I were using Hitch as my primary DPS here, I would want to max out this blessing first and leave this one for later, because it wouldn't be, this one wouldn't be getting me any benefits. So figure out which one you're using based off your champions when you get to the tier 2. Max that one out first, and then come back later after you've picked up, if you've switched your DPS champion, or after you've picked up the global, and pick up the other one that you didn't get. Fast recovery decreases all champions' ultimate attack cooldown. That maxes out at a 20% reduction. That's kind of a big deal because, as you were seeing on my other account, I was at a point where ultimates are what were doing most of the damage. So the quicker you can fire those off, the better at a certain point in the game. The tier 2 global is Gem Hunter. After you've played the game for a while, you realize you earn gems both from completing missions, but also looting them off the bosses. Bosses drop a bag of loot, and the gems pour out of that bag, like you saw right there. Oh, so quick. This increases the gems dropped by bosses by +1 overall campaigns. That may not sound like a lot, but again, every 5 levels is a boss, and you're going to be playing this over and over and over and over again. Those gems add up, and those gems go to help you purchase familiars, but they also purchase feats, and they'll purchase silver and gold chests that have gear and consumables in them. So gems are a super important part of the Idle Champions economy. It's something that, you know, earning a lot more of is kind of a big deal for you. So into tier 3 of Torm, we've got additional training. Again, this is just straight increase to champion damage. This one goes up to 1500%. Lead the charge reduces base attack cooldown. So again, like we saw in tier 1, it's going to give you a bit more of that cooldown, but this time it's only if you're in the front 2 columns. So this is very dependent on how you're building your formation. So again, that's one of the things you want to take into account when you're deciding whether to put points into this. If your DPS isn't in the first or second column, it's rarely ever going to be in the first, but sometimes early on it's going to be in the second. But if you've moved back and you're in the third or fourth or fifth, because that's what works best for your formation, then this may not be something that you want to invest into right away. Well geared increases the damage of champions with 6 pieces of equipment. So by this point, they're basically saying, hey, maybe you want to make sure that all your champions have at least 6 pieces of equipment. So one piece in every slot, regardless of rarity. If you can do that, we're going to increase all their damage. And the way you do that is by utilizing all those gems we were talking about up here to buy chests and open them up to get gear. So doing that's going to get you a nice little bonus when they're in your formation. Less distracted is the tier 3 global. This means those distractions drop 25% more gold over all campaigns. So what's a distraction? Occasionally in the background you'll see like a bird flying over, or a bat, or maybe in some places a spider dropping from the ceiling. Sometimes there's little things hiding in bushes that pop out, or rats that scurry, crabs, whatever. There's all these little kind of things that move in the background. If you click on them, they will give you gold in most cases. Sometimes they spawn enemies, jump out of bushes. But ultimately it's basically going to give you more gold for clicking on those. This is one that generally is considered not a super priority in terms of global blessings, so keep that in mind. You don't necessarily need to be super hardworking to get this one right away, but focus on the tier 1, and here I would say focus on the tier 2. This tier 3, you could probably leave it for now. Tier 4, you'll buy it eventually because you can just afford to, and it doesn't really reduce your favor that much comparatively. The final blessings in the Sword Coast. Hold the line, again, increasing in damage for champions, but this time in the center column. So this is one of those situations where they're like, oh, well, you probably have moved your DPS back to the 3rd row at this point. If you have, then you want to get this. If you haven't yet, then you don't have to invest in that yet. Lead from behind decreases the base attack cooldown of champions in the back 2 columns. So here we go. This is the opposite of lead the charge. Again, you don't necessarily need to invest in it right away if that's not what you're doing. But it can help. Keep in mind, though, that faster attack cooldown, even if that isn't where your primary DPS champion is, can help you on just hit-based things like barricades and hit-based bosses where they have just 1 HP per little bar. And the final one in the locals is Recruit Dritz. Increase the damage of all champions by 100%, and then increase Dritz's damage by an additional 100%. So basically, everybody gets the 1500 bonus if you max this out, and then Dritz gets another one on top of that, which helps make Dritz a nice DPS. It doesn't make him necessarily the best DPS in Grand Tour, but it does make him a much more viable option. And then Start Strong is one that just about everybody loves once they get it. You get to start all your events with 2,500 more event tokens. So events require tokens to do runs, and the main way you get tokens is just over time. You slowly accrue one every 25 seconds or so, if I remember correctly. So it can take a while to get 2,500. So if you've purchased this global blessing before an event starts, you get all of those tokens right away and can just start diving in and doing all the adventures without having to wait. So this is a big deal once you can get here. One moment. All right, so these are the current 4 tiers of blessings in the Sword Coast campaign. Real quick, because it's probably a question, will there ever be more tiers in Sword Coast? Potentially. Of all the campaigns, this is the one that has the potential to continue to get blessings in it, because the Sword Coast campaign is what they call I don't know, what I call an eternal campaign. It's always going to get content added to it. The other campaigns are story-based. They're based specifically on Dungeons & Dragons 5e campaign books. They tell a story and then they stop. And then they don't get new adventures added to them. They don't continue those stories. Sword Coast is going to always have more stories added to it. It's the one place we're always going to be continuing to adventure. So there may come a time when we're pushing super deep, we need a 5th tier of blessings here. Other campaigns, maybe not so much. So let's take a look at the other 3 permanent campaigns. So these are the story-based campaigns. So Tomb of Annihilation. Tier 1, again, we see Legendary Champions is the name over here for the global of their double damage. Empowered Attacks is just, again, straight damage boost, but up to 2,000% in Tomb of Annihilation. Tomb of Annihilation, you're going to quickly see, is a real good campaign for pushing real deep and completing stuff real fast, because its blessings, now, I mean, they do some serious work, much more, in my opinion, than the other campaigns. Golden Riches increases all the gold you find. So again, we're already seeing we're getting a ton more damage, and we're getting a ton more gold. And then Withering Away decreases the health of all undead monsters. Well, let me tell you, folks, Tomb of Annihilation has lots of undead monsters. It's not the only thing you're going to run into in there, but yeah, this is a big deal. So not only do you get more damage, you get more gold, which gives you more damage, and they reduce the health of everything with these blessings. This first tier does heavy work for you in Tomb of Annihilation. Into Tier 2, Edge of Your Seat. So again, we're seeing that attack cooldown reduction, which you can choose. We've got Womanly Wiles, which increases the damage of female champions. So if you're using someone like Jamila at this point from Force Grey, working her way through Tomb of Annihilation, or one of our other DPS, female DPS, like Rosie or Strix, or Farida, or Delina. I said her name. This would be something you would want to invest in. If you're not, if your DPS is a male, then you can skip this one. You come down to showmanship, and vice versa. So these are the same things, but just depending on who your focus is currently for your primary DPS. Temporary Worship increases the amount of favor gained from resetting in event campaigns by 25%. So this means every time you do event runs and you reset, you're going to get a 25% bonus, thus meaning you're earning far more favor in campaigns. And as we kind of talked about earlier, when you earn a lot of favor in campaigns, you then multiply, you convert that favor out against a campaign of your choice. And so this basically means you're going to get a lot more permanent favor in your permanent campaigns. I'm going to stop for a second on this one, because when we were talking earlier about, is there ever a time where you would buy like a super expensive blessing because it's a lot, but maybe you invest in it anyway? If you get to this point where you have enough favor to buy this, even if it's literally spending all your favor to do so, and an event is about to start, it can be very beneficial to go ahead and literally burn all your favor just buying this one blessing, play the event for the time the event duration is, and then after the event is over, reset your blessings and eat that 1% loss. But then you could then convert all of the favor that you earned, that multiplier, into Gaarawarr's campaign and get a huge amount, much more than the 1% that you paid for here. This is early on kind of a very advanced strategy for making sure you maximize your conversion when you're at a point where you just can't buy this easily. But if you can buy it at all, that is one of the few times that we generally recommend, hey, this works. You might want to do it. But if you're not about to start an event, it makes no sense whatsoever. Just understand that. Okay, so moving on. Tomb of Annihilation Tier 3. Global Impact increases damage of all champions by 50%. They love these, folks. They love just giving you straight damage bonuses to everyone. And frankly, we love it too. Fallback increases damage of champions in the rearmost column of the formation by 100%. So this is another one of those, like we saw, where it was speeding up your attacks in either the 2 front columns or the 2 back columns in Sword Coast. In Tomb of Annihilation, they just straight up say, hey, and then it gave you a damage bonus if you were in that middle column. Tomb of Annihilation says, hey, we'll give you the most damage if your DPS is all the way in the back column. Sometimes it's worth it, sometimes it's not. It's going to depend on which support champions you're using, because if they want to buff people that are in front of them, then they're going to be useless if your DPS is in the back column. So make sure you're looking at the amount you're getting from this, as well as what you'd be losing from other support champions just by trying to earn this. So this is another one of those kind that you have to really pay attention. Is it worth it or not? Eventually, you'll max it out regardless, but make sure you're keeping this in mind. Epically geared, increase the damage of each champion by 10% for each piece of epic gear they have. So at this point, they're saying, hey, before they were like, look, you need at least one piece of gear in every item slot for a champion. Now they're saying, hey, you need it all epic by this point. They're basically encouraging you to go out and start working on getting full epics on your champions, because it is a nice power spike, and they're giving you a little more, because again, this is 10% for each piece, maxes out 150%. So 150% if you get all 6 pieces, there's a 900% bonus for that champion, right? Super nice, whether it's worth it or not is going to depend on how easy it is for you to get there, but eventually you're going to want it. Golden Luck. This is a controversial one, but a welcome one. Increases the chance of a boss chest upgrading to a gold chest by 2% over all campaigns. But Gaarawarr, 2%, is that really worth it? Yeah. Again, it's not one that you're going to you have to absolutely dump all your favor into right away, but again, you're going to get to a point where you're doing runs, you're killing bosses, you're resetting over and over and over, you're killing so many bosses, and you're seeing lots of silver chests drop, which if you want to see, all of these silver chests, these 1,100 silver chests are what's dropped in the last 2.5 weeks. Whereas the 37 gold is what's dropped, what's dropped in what I've got from chest codes in the last week or so. So there's definitely a difference. If you can increase the amount of gold chests that are dropping off bosses, even if it's only by 2%, you want that 2%. You just don't necessarily make this something that you're like, oh, I'm going to dump all my favor in and I'm going to hurt my gold find right away. Buy it when you can easily afford to, when the warning doesn't pop up. And the final tier 4 blessings for Tomb of Annihilation, speeding along. Again, this is cooldown reduction for everyone. Top Shelf increases the damage of champions in the topmost slot in each column by 50%. So again, this is one that they're trying to give you a bonus for building a formation a certain way. This top column one, the Top Shelf, is a lot easier to do. It just means you're your DPS champion wants to be up in one of those top slots. So not the front, but you could be well, you never put them in the front really, but one of those other top spots, and then build your formation around them. That's a lot easier than doing fallback. So keep that one in mind. This is a pretty solid bonus. And then recruit Azaka. So this is going to give Azaka a damage bonus, just kind of like they did with Dritz. Spoiler alert, this is great for the damage to all champions, but it doesn't necessarily make Azaka viable as a DPS, unfortunately. But it was a nice thought. Focus on the core. This final Tier 4 Global increases the damage of the original 12 champions by 400% over all campaigns. So this is just a nice little boost. It's not necessarily something you need to strive for right away, but it's a great boost if you're still using those primary core 12 champions that we got in the beginning, like Brunor and Archon and Jamila and all of them. It does give you a nice little bonus, but it's not going to be super amazing. But the reason it kind of exists is there are some variants, some very difficult variants later that restrict your champion pool quite a bit. Some to your core roster. And that damage bonus is going to be extremely viable there. So this isn't necessarily something that if you're using primarily event champions, this isn't going to be a focus for you. But if you are still using those core champions, make sure you grab it. Let's hop over to our next storied campaign, Waterdeep Dragon Heist. Again, we're going to see with Openlord's Decree, this is a damage boost, but they're getting a little more specific now, only if you're outdoors. So it's going to kick in some areas and not in others. Keep that in mind. So this may not be something that you want to invest in immediately. Maybe you want one of these others, like Street Hazards is the one that's just this flat damage. So maybe this is where you focus first. And then Have Faith increases Helm's Favor earned from event time gate conversions. So this is if you're doing this campaign and you're going to be dumping those time gates and events into it, make sure you're maxing this one out so you get that bonus. And we're going to pause while my Modron does its thing. Okay. Tier 2. Oh, wait. Yeah. Tier 1, double damage. Do I have to keep mentioning this one? I will, but remember, Tier 1 Global is always the double damage, folks. Tier 2, heavy hitters. Oh, wait, I'm in Torm. We want Waterdeep. Defending Waterdeep, again, double damage. Boom. Dang it, Modron, you're screwing me up. All walks of life. Increases the damage of all champions by 5% for every unique race in the formation. So again, they're getting pretty specific. This is, if you're building a very diverse formation, you're going to get a bonus. It maxes out at 50% per unique race. There are 10 formation slots. Whether or not, I'm not sure if we have 10 separate. We might be there now. Early on, that wasn't necessarily a thing, but eventually you will get enough of a variety where you could build this out. Now, whether it's viable or not is going to depend on whether those champions are viable, so keep that in mind when you're looking to purchase this one. Comfortable in the City increases base damage of rogues, bards, and wizards. So this hits, some nice points. I don't know that do we have... Obviously, there's some rogues and some wizards that are going to do a lot of damage. Do we have bards that we're using as DPS primarily? Maybe one or two. But not often. So this is going to be, if you're using a rogue or a wizard for your primary DPS, this is going to be a grab. The best defense increases the base damage of ultimate attacks by 25%. This is super nice because, again, you get to a point in some campaigns where ultimates are going to be what are killing through a significant section of your push. So giving them more damage is going to help them help you by pushing deeper. Deep Pockets increases gold drop by humanoid enemies by 25% of all overall campaigns. I love grabbing this one as soon as possible. We kill a lot of humanoids, folks. A lot. And the final tier in Waterdeep, again, not all have 4 tiers. The tier 3 blessings, Classy Gathering, increase the damage of all champions by 5% for every unique class in the formation. So they're getting real specific in the Waterdeep local blessings. Waterdeep is a very diverse city, and they want you to be very diverse. They're trying to encourage you to be very diverse in your formation building. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The Middle Road increases the base damage of champions in the middle columns by 100%. So this is middle columns too. We're not in that right now, but if we were in that, they would have, like, middle columns, if it would look like this, would be all 3 of these, but it's 2 of the middle columns over in the Waterdeep Dragon Heist formation. Frequent Distraction. Decrease the cooldown of ultimate attacks. Again, we really like these. Again, ultimates, the more you can use them early on, the better. And then slow and steady increases the damage of all champions by 2% for every piece of equipment of epic rarity, multiplicative over all campaigns. That's a mouthful, folks. That's a mouthful. This one's huge, but it's huge for late game, because as you start collecting epics and working towards getting epics across all of your champions, every single one of them, every time you get a new epic, it's going to increase your damage everywhere because of this blessing. So if you're at a point where you don't have a lot of epics when you get here, this isn't a focus for you. But if you're starting to get lots and lots of epics, again, on all your champions, not just the ones that are in your formation, but on all your champions, this becomes a big deal. And you want to start looking at this, and it just becomes more, at that point it becomes more and more valuable, both the more epics you have and the more champions they add, because that's a chance for 6 more epics every single time. So this one has been growing slowly and steadily since it was added, and it's continuing to grow as they add more and more campaigns and more champions. Okay, the last of our current campaigns, we've got Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus. So again, Tier 1, Darkest Before the Light, the global, double damage. Keep in mind, as I said before, Descent into Avernus is currently considered a hard campaign. It starts off and everything is red. Like all of the warnings are, instant death here. Things are very healthy. They're very hard to kill. You don't feel like you're progressing as much. It is a grind when you start. So early on in your Idle Champions career, it may not be something you want to jump into right away. Focus on those first 3. But once you get over to here, you're going to have a real grind to just get through even these first tier 3 tiers of blessings. So Southern Hospitality increases the damage of all champions by 50%. Again, something they love, but this one, whereas other places it went to 1,000 or 1,500 or 2,000, this one's only 500%. They're not helping you out a lot here, folks. Huddled for Warmth increases the damage of champions adjacent to the hole in the descent formation by 50%. So this is a formation specific one. There's a hole in the kind of a gap in the middle of the formation and a ring of champions around it. They want you putting your DPS somewhere in there. No Judgment here increases the damage of all champions by 5% for every unique alignment in the formation. So, we're in hell at this point, so alignments matter. So you get a nice little bonus for each unique one. Again, they're trying to teach you to build diversely, but it's up to you if you want to do that or not. Tier 2, Quick Thinking. This is your basic base attack cooldown reduction one. Another all champions buff, but not really. It's just for all evil champions. So if you were trying to run a pure evil formation, this is something you invest in. If not, focus on Eve of Destruction first. That is the generic all champions damage. Extreme Patronage increases the amount of patron currency gained from free plays by 10% over all campaigns. This is very specific to the patron system, which we haven't gone over on Gaarawarr's Guide yet. We will at some point. This one is not a focus unless you have unlocked patrons and are actively using them. So once you get to that point, you will know why this becomes a big deal. It's basically a time saver because you're going to be earning more of their currency from every free play, and you can only earn a certain amount each week. So it basically means you get to spend less time trying to earn that currency each week because you cap out faster. It's a nice time freer. The final tier of blessings increase the damage of all champions by 100% if the current area is hellish. Well, if you're in Avernus, chances are it's going to be a hellish area. They may not all be that way, but they're basically telling you, yeah, you want this one. Good always wins. So this is the opposite of Evil Incarnate. If you're going to be using good champions, this is what's increasing their damage. And the New Blood increases the damage of all champions by 5% for every event champion in the formation. So if you're using primarily event champions, this is going to be helpful for you. If not, well, then again, leave it and don't necessarily focus on it super hard. And then the final tier 3 blessing Veterans of Avernus increases the damage of all champions by 10% for every Avernus adventure and variant completed overall campaign. So again, the overall campaigns means the bonus is going to apply overall campaigns. But this specifically means that for every single adventure and variant you've done in Descent into Avernus, you're getting a 10% bonus. Now, there's usually one adventure and then multiple variants to each adventure. But there are also multiple, those variants also become patron variants, and there's currently 3 patrons, and there will be more patrons in the future. So this is one of those ever-growing ones. Like, the number of adventures and variants will eventually cap in terms of, like, base adventures and base variants. But then all of those variants get multiplied by the number of patrons there are. So every time they add a new patron, this bonus will go up because all of those variants will be available for that patron. So this is another one of those that's kind of the long game. You're doing this one for the long game. So you don't necessarily need to. A lot of people scrambled and were like, when this first came out and there were only maybe 2 or 4 adventures and you know, maybe 6 or 8 more variants, people wanted to max out all their blessings and get this, and then they felt underwhelmed. And it's like, well, yeah, this is a very long-term, slow burn global blessing. So keep that in mind. That's going to be it for all the blessings. We covered them all. We will see more with Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frost Maiden, but hopefully now you understand a bit more about how you want to review those and decide how you want to spend your favor on them. And I'm sure people will talk about them immensely once those new campaigns come out. Just remember, those blessings are only part of the main campaigns. You don't have blessings for time gates or events. Those are specifically to allow you to earn more favor that you can then spend on blessings. So that's how all of those systems kind of come back around. The divine favor and blessing system is kind of the core foundation of the game in terms of playing, pushing, resetting, and then pushing further on your next run. This is a nice little feedback loop that you get. So hopefully this has answered all your questions. Jay has been pulling questions for our Q&A this whole time, though. If you have asked questions in chat with the question colon and then put your question. If you have any that have come up as we've been going through this right now, go ahead and throw them into chat. We're going to take a quick pause while I get those questions up on my screen so that I can start asking them. We'll run through those, and then if we have time, which it looks like we're doing okay on our time, then we will just do open Q&A about anything in chat. But one moment, folks, and I will be right back. All right, folks, I am back. I had a quick drink of water after all that talking. My throat gets parched, but no, I was going to lose my voice if I didn't. All right, so it looks like we have a number of questions. Thank you all for submitting questions in chat, especially with the question in front of them, so that Jay could pull them. These questions do help anyone who is watching the VOD either on Twitch later and doesn't have chat open, or is watching on YouTube later, which is where all of these videos will be going, to help people learn more about the game and understand it better and enjoy it more, because we like having you all here. So let's go through these. Blasphemer 2016. When someone says you'll need E106 to beat Z325, or whatever it happens to be, how are they calculating that needed damage goal? Ooh, so not necessarily directly related, but ultimately what they're doing there is they're looking at the health of the boss and determining that at that stage, with that health, you're going to need that much damage to be able to beat it. So if you are getting to your soft cap at that point, you know, where you've leveled up the champions to the point where there is no more where favor and gold find doesn't give you more power. So this is kind of what we alluded to early on. There's going to be a point where favor doesn't get you any more power when you're pushing deep in an adventure. If you reach that soft cap where there are no more upgrades for your champion, and you don't have that E106 that they've told you you're going to need, then you're not ready to beat that. Then you're not ready to beat that adventure yet. You're going to need to raise your damage and your power either through more blessings, through perks, through your Modron core, one of these other ways, through better gear, through better feats, one of these other ways to let you get past that, because favor isn't going to do it anymore. That's usually one of the most common things we run into with players where they get real confused in the mid game, is they hit soft cap and they don't understand why they're pushing further than they ever did and earning more gold than they ever did, but then all of a sudden they hit a wall and they can't, no matter how much gold they earn, they can't get past that wall, and it's because they've now hit soft cap. Gold doesn't give them more power in that campaign anymore. So let's see. Ariastorpora, I never got my code in the email for the feathered chest. Oh, yeah. That's going to be... check your spam folders and grab... if it's not there, go ahead and submit a support ticket. CNE will help you out. Forgive me, but can you explain how Huddled for Warmth in Tiamat favor actually works? It's something like a damage boost based on how far we go on. Let me pull that up. What are you talking about? Huddle for Warmth. Increase the damage of champions adjacent to the hole in this formation by 50%. So this is specifically... I am going to hop out of this and we will go over so I can show you right on screen. Let's go to the Descent into Avernus formation. We'll just grab any old mission. And I'll show you what they're referring to here. Let's load this formation in. So right here in the middle, you'll notice all my champions are circled up. There is a gap right in the middle where no champion can go. That is what's called the hole in the formation. So what this... Okay. All I gotta do all my specializations, folks. This happens real quick when you have a lot of gold. I have a lot of favor to give you a lot of gold. So, Huddle for Warmth. Increase the damage of champions adjacent to the hole in the descent formation by 50%. So, that basically means I'm going to want to put my DPS champion in one of these slots, one of these 6 slot locations around this gap in the middle. If I put it all the way in the back, I'm not going to get that bonus. If I put them in the tank line, I'm not going to get that bonus. But I have the freedom to put them in any of these 6 positions to get Huddled for Warmth. That's what that's talking about. Should I focus on getting more favor first from Birchmage, or push the second map with new favor? Like I said, the first kind of generally accepted focus is to push to get enough favor to get that double damage global blessing. So in tier 1, in a campaign, and then hop over to another campaign and push to get the double damage bonus there, and then hop over to the third campaign and do that again, basically. And then at that point, you may have an idea of where you want to go. But grabbing those first set of tier 1 blessings that give you that all up to and including that double damage bonus is basically going to help you out everywhere in all the campaigns and in all your events and all your time gates. So that's generally recommended more than just focusing on one campaign to the exclusion of all the others. Bishop McQ96, is it better to keep all the campaign favors lined up or focus heavily on one for easier gem farming? This is, so again, we want to grab all those tier 1s as quickly as you can, at least from those first 3 campaigns. Avernus you can wait on, because it is a huge time sink. At that point, look to what's most important to you. For me, I like gems, so I would then dive into the one that's going to get me more gems. And then I will start making decisions about, well, what do I want to focus on? Do I want to grab more gold from somewhere? Do I want to focus and rush down all the way to tier 4 for the one that gives me more event tokens? At this point, you should be able to hopefully make these informed decisions on your own, but generally just spread out and grab those first tier 1s, and then and then kind of jump from there. I do like that gem one next in tier 2. Specifically, let's see what we're for tier 2. The patron isn't great early. Deep Pockets is a good tier 2 to grab. Temporary Worship is a good tier 2 to grab. Gem Hunters are good tier 2 to grab. Which order you're doing those in, though, is kind of up to you. If you want to get started on that gem hunt early, grab that one. And then depending on where you're pushing, like I said, I find it super easy to push in the Tomb of Annihilation campaign because of these tier 1 blessings. It's really just a triple threat, damage bonus, gold bonus, health reduction. It's just fantastic. So you can push through Tomb of Annihilation pretty quickly in terms of gaining favor here. So early on, if you just want to do a deep push and go and max all of these out, I'm not against it, but I would say grab your tier 1 globals, at least from these two, from Torm and Helm first, at least, before you do that. It might help you to grab this tier 2 while you're, at the same time you're grabbing tier 2s from everyone else, just because it's more gold too. But those are kind of, your choices and your decisions. Just make sure they're informed decisions. Let me find some more that are pertinent to favor and divine blessings, and then we'll come back and answer all the rest of these. What ratio would you recommend between spent versus held, in terms of not getting your gold find, etc., from Star Chaser? Again, I'm not necessarily doing math on the percentage. I'm really just using that built-in warning when I go to buy them. It seems to be a good like rule of thumb to use. Just if the warning pops up, don't do it. Eventually, you blow that ratio away, because eventually you get all the blessings and you have a massive amounts of favor, and it doesn't matter. But early on, just stick to using the warning. I don't know that anyone, even after 3 years, has bothered to try to do the math, because that warning seems to work super well. So, I would just, again, I think we always tend to recommend everybody in the community when they ask, we just say, make sure your warning's enabled, and if you're buying above that, make sure you know why and that it's worth it. And if you make a mistake, just reset them all. It does cost you 1%, but you're getting a lot more than that on one run. So you can afford to make mistakes in that regard. Just it's better to reset and lose 1% than to spend a ton and have spent 50% and lost it. When you have all the blessings, this is from Prime Gaming Marmoset. When you have all the blessings for a certain type of favor, is it worth converting temporary favor into that favor anymore? Okay, so this is what, as you're getting further along, you're going to end up having purchased, like you could see on my account, all of the blessings in that campaign. So do you want to even earn more favor in that campaign? Do you want to use those conversions in that campaign? Maybe, maybe not. If there is still more of that campaign for you to complete, and you feel like you need more power in that campaign, and you haven't hit your soft cap there yet, it might be worth continuing to convert in that campaign. However, if there are other campaigns that you can switch over to, and you're pushing in there, and you need that favor, or you feel like you need it to be able to move forward, then you want to convert it there. So you're kind of looking at how much do I value having more gold find in this campaign, and how many more blessings can I buy? If you've bought them all, then your only valuation is how much will gold help me progress. It may not be as much anymore at that point, and there may be another campaign that it's going to help you even more on. Just make sure that you have a good amount of favor in that campaign before you start converting in, unless you have no choice, so that you're getting you're getting a nice solid boost, and it's not just like, oh, I've got 50 favor in that campaign, I'm going to convert an event into it. Probably not the best choice, right? Because there isn't a huge conversion there. A different campaign may get you a bigger boost. Eventually, you will max out all your blessings, like I have on mine. And the reason my Torms campaign is in the E40s is because I tend to convert all of my events and time gates there, because it's our, again, like kind of that eternal permanent campaign where they're always going to be adding more content. So there's potentially always going to be a need for more favor there. I have recently been converting a little more into Avernus though, because I want to make sure that I can do all of those new adventures as they're added. So that is those are the kind of things you want to keep in mind. Like, are all the adventures in there? Have I completed them all? Can I complete them all with the favor I have? If you can, you may not need to convert more in there. You can focus on a different one. Don't understand Tempest's favor. It says 2 days until forced to convert. Okay, games and music. Tempest's favor is specifically the favor you earned in the Bright Swords event. As you do events, again, I kind of alluded to this a little bit, you convert that favor into a primary campaign after you're done. So what it's telling you is it gives you automatically like 7 days before you're forced to convert, where you can then, you have that time to make a decision where you want to put it. Maybe you're not around right away. Maybe it takes you a while to get back to the game. Maybe you only play on the weekends. Whatever reason, after that point, it's when you next log in, it's going to force you to pick a place to multiply that favor against, right? So basically you want to find the campaign that you want the boost in, and then convert into it. I don't have a way to demonstrate that at the moment, but basically your your Tempest is right here. I already converted mine. It would give you a box that shows you and gives you all the options of the main campaigns. And you can click through them and see what totals it will give you to see, like, well, if you're deciding where do I want to put it, how much of a bonus is it going to get me, it'll tell you that up front. And then you just confirm whichever one you choose. I had E41 Tempest's favor. And remember, every EO1 in an event is a 10% boost. So that was a 410% bonus. So it turned into 237 E37 Tiamat's favor for me. So that gave me, 400% more favor in that campaign. Your bonus is probably going to be a little smaller as a newer player, but that's the kind of bonuses you can build up to eventually. Let's see here. Corsten Hald, would you say that gold farming equals favor farming? Yeah, pretty much. That's when you're doing both at the same time, right? You're earning gold, and you can use that gold immediately to level up your champions. But that gold, all that gold that you earned, the total is tracked, whether you spend it or not, is tracked and turned into favor. Would I be best served pushing deep into a variant or free play, or is it better to reset? Pushing deep in adventures and free plays. Variants, because of the difficult restrictions that they place on you, tend to not be good places for you to do deep pushes for favor. So push deep in the free plays and the base adventures, so the ones that are just named adventures, as we showed. Hold on, let me pull that up again here on the map, just so we make sure everyone knows the difference. Let's look at Tomb of Annihilation. These right here, when I close this all up, these base ones, the main ones, Ring of Regeneration, Seeking Allies, these are adventures that have free plays associated with them once you complete them. All these others that are underneath this in this category, these are all variants. So the variants I just complete, it's better just to complete right away because they are more difficult. So let me see if we can explain. Yeah, every time a champion's killed, their DPS is permanently reduced by 20%, 25% for the duration of the adventure. This is not a great variant to push deep in. In most, there are a couple exceptions to the rule, but for the most part, you do a variant to the stage it tells you it completes, and then you complete it. Adventures and free plays, you want to do those super deep and treat them as favor runs. How do you know when a new event is going to start so you can time your runs and maximize favor earned? New events start on a cycle. This game has a very, usually very strict content cycle, so it's on a 3-week rotation. So we have a new event starting Wednesday, as of right now, Wednesday the 23rd of September will be High Harvest Tide. Right? Yeah, High Harvest Tide. This is starting off the year 4 campaign cycle. High Harvest Tide was the first event ever in the game, so we're now back to that first one. 3 weeks from that day is another new event. So there will be Liar's Night. Every 3 weeks there is an event. Now an event lasts 12 days. Oof. I write event guides. I should know this, folks. I believe it's 12 days. They start on a Wednesday. They end on a Monday. They start at noon Pacific. They end at noon Pacific on a Monday. So you have the time in between that event ending and a new one starting. You get 7 days to convert your favor and do whatever else you want in that time. And then a new event will start. You cannot convert your event favor until the event ends. So while you're in that favor, you get all that time, or while you're in that event, you get all that time to build up your favor. Should you push Tomb of Annihilation first to get the tier buffs? From Dougie D. I like it. Again, I like those tier 1 blessings. I'm going to be a broken record on this because it's really something I want to hammer home here about blessings. Those tier 1 blessings, the global blessings, are big deals. Make sure you grab them. I mean, it is just a double damage, but they all stack up over and over and over, all the campaigns, and they're used everywhere. Local blessings aren't. So kind of prioritize, like I said earlier, which things are important to you. But personally, I do think Tomb of Annihilation, because it is so easy, the blessings make it so easy to push through and complete it, and because it is a fixed length campaign, that story has finished. You're going to work through it and it's going to end. It's a great place to go and start out. There are also 2 Evergreen Champions there. Azaka, who is kind of your first real drive for picking up a champion that's going to really increase the amount of gold you earn, and thus the amount of favor you get. Azaka's in there, and then Dragonbait's in there. So, and that Dragonbait is the hardest, most challenging Evergreen to unlock in the game right now. So it's kind of a good measure of your abilities at that point to build formations and push through an adventure. But yeah, I think you can easily make Tomb of Annihilation after you've grabbed those tier 1s and maybe even tier 2s from the others. Dive deep into Tomb of Annihilation and you're going to get rewarded for it. Is there any way to know when the story portion of a run ends before it repeats? Every 50 levels. I'm just going to answer that one real quick, even though it's not necessarily on Blessings in Favor. The story runs from level 1 to 50, and then that's it. The story portion ends. The levels then and the enemies that come out on the levels repeat. So 51 is 1, 52 is 2. So yeah, it's a repeating on 50 cycle. What are the events? Is it like this free time gate this weekend? No, time gates are mini events. Time gates are 72 hours of one. You get to pick one champion and you do a couple things based off their event, just to grab a little bit of favor and items for that champion and to pick up that champion if you don't own them. An event, again, is 12 days. There are 3 champions available in the event. Coming up, off the top of my head, I can do this. High Harvest Tide Year 4 will feature Thibbledorf Pwent, Farida from the Brimstone Angel Saga, and our new Year 4 champion, Toragar Steelfist of the Dark Order, from the Descent into Avernus campaign book. Those are going to be the 3 champions that you have available. There will be an unlock adventure for them, and then each of them has 3 variants that you can earn gold chests from, and then there's free plays for them. Each of them has a different formation that you can utilize. So there's a lot of content in an event. It's why it's spread out over as long as it is. And you have the ability to earn a lot of gear, but it's all very much limited by earning tokens, which is why that one blessing is super nice, giving you 2,500 more right off the bat. But yeah, so events are much longer, much more complex. I do guides for those every time. I've done everyone except the very first High Harvest Tide, because I was brand new then too. So you can find those on the Reddit and get help in the Discord or on the Reddit. Marok the God, plus damage over all campaigns means everything, not just the Sword Coast, right? Even if the blessing is found under that campaign. Correct. So as long as it says overall campaigns, that means it is a global blessing, meaning it works in every campaign, it works in time gates, it works in events, and if there's something outside of those that gets added to the game, it should work there as well. because it is global. It works everywhere in the game. Is there any way to see your total bonus for Slow and Steady and Veterans of Avernus? Haggis Buns, currently there is not. That is a quality of life feature we have asked for, but we just haven't got there yet. Currently, though, the developers are working heavily on both fixing bugs for the multi-party and Modron, as well as adding quality of life features. So if ever there was a time, this might be it. How is the Makos gold bonus you were talking about any better than having him buff your primary DPS so you can push further and get more money that way? Gaarawarr too. If he is currently your only option in that slot for a buffer, then it may very well be that you want him in his Dark Blessing setting and just helping you push deeper. However, if you have another option in that slot that you're using instead of him, you can put him in his Dark Luck spec, like I had. You have the other, you leave him on the bench. You get to that point where you're building up a team of enemies, and you can set a decent bud, which is base ultimate damage, by having your DPS attack. Then you just swap Makos in, hit his ult, let him clear the entire wave, make tons of gold, and then swap back, and then let his ultimate cooldown come back, swap him back out for that buffer, build up, let it build up, and then repeat. It's kind of I did an example of this on one of my Gaarawarr's Guide to Everything streams a couple weeks ago. That VOD is on the YouTube channel as well, so you might want to check that. But basically, it's part of it's something you're going to have to learn how to do. Farming for gold using either Makos or Azaka, specifically. These two want very specific ways for you to utilize them to farm gold, and it's not normal. It's not normal at all. They want you to do things that you just normally wouldn't do. So utilizing that, it may feel a little odd, but utilizing and optimizing those kinds of gold find strategies really pay off for you. So some confusion. So the ones that say overall campaigns won't carry over? No, they do carry over. If it says overall campaigns, those global blessings, they carry everywhere. Again, in some UIs, on some systems, they'll just be listed all off, and it'll be the first three that are local and the fourth that's the global. But here on PCs, it's always the one over here on the right. These are global. These will go everywhere. It's the ones on the left that are specific to this campaign and you can't take with you. So the super high level ones, 2,000, 1,000, those things are always going to be local and only work when you're in Descent into Avernus, whereas all the ones on the right that say overall campaigns, they're going to work in all the primary campaigns as well as time gates and events. Let me check through some of these. I'll come back to some of these. If I haven't answered your question yet, it's probably just because it isn't directly about divine favor and blessings, but we should be able to get there. We've still got a good amount of time left. As a new player with almost no favors, should I use Makos for gold farming instead of leaving in the back for the 750% damage increase? Again, if he's all you have, use him with that damage bonus. That may be the best thing for you to do. Once you pick up a swap for him in his slot, or maybe just another champion in your pool, like if we look at, let me pull up this account. This is actually my Gaarawarr challenge account, for those of you who are wondering why it had gear on it. In this formation, I don't necessarily need Makos back here. I have the gold to put Tyrell back here, and he could be better overall. So what I would do is normally push with Tyrell as this swap. And then when I hit my wall and I build up a stack, then I would swap Makos in and fire off his ultimate like I was describing. So once you get to the point where you have somebody else that would be in the formation other than Makos, it becomes much easier to use Makos farming as a means of gaining gold. Early on, you may just need to use him. And at that point, it's not so much, you don't necessarily need to spend a lot of time early on with these kind of manipulative methods of gaining extra gold. It's usually when you're a little further, because usually right away you're gaining a lot and you're having to learn a lot about the game and formations and pushing. So just early on, learning how to build a formation, learning how to upgrade your champions efficiently, those two things, and making sure you're buying chests for gear. Those three things are going to get you more favor than just trying to learn how to manipulate Mako specifically. Have you guys calculated how much it would cost to buy all of the things? There's somebody has in the Discord. Those aren't things I try to think about, but you can ask in the Discord. Destiny, I think somebody will have an answer for you. How should I balance favor over blessings? Again, it's keep the warning enabled so that when you go to buy, I don't have it here, but let me bring up the other account again. Swapping between multiple accounts. Yay. Just got to remember I'm on the screen, the right screen. If you have this warning enabled when you go to buy, and this pop-up comes up and tells you, ooh, are you sure? This means that you don't want to buy it. So buy up until that point and then stop. That's your balance. That's what you got to remember. It's not, you don't have to do like some crazy math or anything. I mean, you could, if you're super into math and you want to figure out the formula like that makes sense and answers all the questions about favor and blessings, I'm super supportive of that. But for anybody else, just leave the warning enabled and buy up until it goes off. We find another. Is Azaka worth it? Yes. Even if you don't have a lot of champions that boost gold, find, because she works synergistically with all of them. Even if you don't have a lot of those, even if all you have is Jarlaxle, who you get automatically, and then Azaka, Azaka is worth pushing for and unlocking and learning how to farm with. She has a very specific methodology for farming that doesn't involve killing anything. She's a big bully, and she takes your lunch money, as Storyteller Mars tells us. And that is basically the best example ever, an explanation for what she does. She basically bullies people for their lunch money, and she gets you so much money. So it takes some, again, it takes a lot of work. It takes some patience to learn how to do that. So it isn't necessarily what you should worry about right away, but as you pick up favor and blessings through multiple campaigns and then deep dive into Tomb of Annihilation, once you pick her up, it's time to learn how to use her, because she will just max out that campaign for your blessings super fast, and thus help you max out those other campaigns. That's why I say it's, having Tomb of Annihilation be your first deep focus is probably the best thing you can do because of Azaka. So keep that in mind. So should I focus on getting my tier 1 from Waterdeep before deep pushing in Tomb of Annihilation? Yes. Grab that extra bonus. There's no reason not to just give yourself a little time, because if you've already done the other two, you should be able to get that one real quick. One moment. I always know when I'm going to sneeze because my nose itches, and it's probably going to happen again. So yeah, there's no reason, if you've already picked up those other two for tier 1s, you can get that third one real quick and then dive deep into Tomb of Annihilation. Is it worth farming a lot in time gates to get favor for converting? Not necessarily, because there is that lower conversion, because instead of 10% for every EO1 scientific favor that you've earned in an event versus 2.5% in a time gate, it shouldn't necessarily be your focus to push super hard in a time gate. The reason you try to push deep in a time gate is because you want to get to either level 100 or level 200 or level 300, because at each unique 100 levels, you get a silver chest reward for that champion. So if you can only push to 150, as long as you clear 100 and grab that first silver chest, and then get your gold chests from the other things that it asks you to do, you're fine. You don't necessarily need to work super hard and getting tons of favor. Your time's better spent at that point earning favor in campaigns and doing that kind of stuff. I'm a new player. Is there enough time to farm out the Start Strong blessing before the event starts? Ooh, probably not. Probably not. Start Strong is... Which one is it in again? Hold on. I mean, it's super deep. I just can't remember. Is it 2? No. No, it is. Okay. So it's Sword Coast, but it's Tier 4 Sword Coast. And it's the Tier 4 Global, so it's pricey. Real pricey. So unless you're already... the event starts in 2 days. So unless you're already in Tier 4 filling this out and pretty close, probably not. 2 days, because you have to have it before the event starts, and the event starts at noon Pacific on Wednesday. So you only have a few days left. So keep that in mind. You could attempt to, but if you don't get there, it's not the end of the world. There was a long time in this game where that blessing didn't exist in year 1. So, and we did just fine. It's just super nice once you can get there. My Tiamat section says, coming soon. Am I missing something? If you haven't actually earned any favor in the campaign yet, it's going to show coming soon. And after you've earned some favor, but before you've reset your client or restarted your client or refreshed your browser, it'll probably still say coming soon. So just make sure once you've earned some favor that you reset, and it should be fine. It'll show up. I would like that just as a quality of life feature for them to change it so it just shows you the blessings, but they haven't done that. You see if we have any more of these in chat. I think a lot of these are going to be more general questions. So let me head back to the top of the list here and make sure there aren't any more. Is it worth ignoring the spending warning to pick up a global if I'm about to swap to a different campaign, then lose the 1% to refund when I get back to the campaign again? Gaarawarr, that's a great question. In a lot of cases, yes. If that global is going to benefit you while you're off in another campaign, absolutely. Just make sure you remember to refund when you come back, or else you're going to have a real hard time and you're going to be going, why is it so hard? It wasn't this hard before. Yeah, so just make sure to remember. But yeah, for 1%, absolutely. Thank you for asking that question. That should have been in the tips and tricks section. Okay, I'm going to jump back. That was all the questions that I could see from specifically about Divine Favor and Blessings. So I thank you all for asking, because that's going to help new players when they come across this. So let me jump back in and let's see. I've got about 18 minutes, and I'm going to try to get through the rest of your questions. There were a lot. I love it. Thank you all for coming out today. There were like 65 questions pulled from chat. So thank you also to Jay, who is our moderator today, for pulling all of those. It looks like we have over 500 people watching, which is fantastic. Thank you for joining us on your Saturday morning. Is this going to be your spot from now on, Gar? It's going to be an additional spot, Admiral RD. I am still doing Gaarawarr's Guide to Everything in Idle Champions on Fridays at 1 p.m. on the C&E channel. I am also doing Gaarawarr's Guide to Insert Specific Topic here on Saturday mornings, so that we can have kind of a more tutorial format with these deep dives, because I had done deep dives like this on some things in Gaarawarr's Guide to Everything, and people usually really liked them, but I didn't do them every week, so because there was always a lot of questions there, and I like answering all those questions. So Fridays will continue to be give me all the questions in chat and I answer them all as quick as I can and try to get through them all, which only twice in history have we not got through all of them. And we've been doing this a while now, folks. So as Saturdays, though, are going to be very specific focus for the first hour with the Q&A afterwards. So if I don't get to all your questions today, hit me up on Fridays for Gaarawarr's Guide to Everything, or on my own channel, Twitch TV/Gaarawarr. Tuesdays, I do a show called Idle Chatter for an hour starting at noon Pacific. And then Thursday mornings, I do the Marzawar Challenge, which you can find more information out on Reddit. That's the account that I was on that looks new, but has a couple things of gear. We're playing through the game from the beginning. We just started on Thursday, so if you're newer and you want to actually watch me play through the beginnings of a campaign, we're at the very beginning of Sword Coast, and we'll be doing that on Thursdays. Ninehammer, why are you farming on Beast Intentions versus Mad Wizard? That was my new player account, so my Mars War Challenge account, and on that account, Minsk is still a beast, like in terms of his favorite enemy, so he's helping me push forward and get more favor for that campaign run. So that I'm trying to get all my variants to show as easy before I do them, because that's a big deal. It isn't the difficulty ratings, having things show as easy versus challenging. It's not very intuitive. It's linked directly to favor, and there are still other factors that could make it difficult for you to defeat it. But I like to at least meet that minimum bar of making everything look easy before I complete it. That helps a lot. Should I focus on getting more first favor or push the second map with new favor? I think I answered that one and we just didn't mark it off. But yeah, you want to grab global blessings and then swap around. Who should I pick as first pick for a forced time gate? So like a manual time gate. A time gate you open yourself lets you pick any of the previous event champions. We're in a natural time gate weekend, which just lets you pick from 3. But on a manual time gate, where you're spending 6 time gate pieces and picking whatever you want, Krull is your first priority in this game. He is super strong in terms of debuffing enemies, as well as increasing the amount of gold you earn from them. He's a big deal, like the biggest deal in the game. After him, if you've already got him somehow, Averin is the best buffer in the game. So those are usually considered by the community to be the first 2 priorities if you're trying to get the strongest champions and not just trying to grab the ones you like and have fun with. I mean, those are valid playstyles, but if you're talking about just the strongest, Krull, then Averin. If you use time gate pieces, you get to pick your champion, right? Hey, I just answered that. Yeah. That was good timing. So yeah, if you manually open a time gate, like let me pull this up. I did my time gate already for the free time gate weekend. See, no gate currently open. I already did mine. If I come in here now and I spend 6 time gate pieces, I can pick from anything. Any of the champions I can choose from. I'm not restricted to just getting one that is offered, like in a natural time gate weekend. Good question. So what happens if I open a silver chest for a character that I do not have yet? This is a great question because there are a lot of codes out in the community. Codename Entertainment gives a lot of free stuff out. I'm just going to say that. This week there's been a ton of free stuff given out. But they give out sometimes chest codes for very specific champions named, like it's a silver Lizaps chest, or it's a silver Zorbu chest, or it's a gold Farida chest. Opening those chests, even though you don't have the champion yet, banks those items for them for when they show up, but you get the added benefit of getting any gold and consumables out of that chest right away. The ones you want to be careful with are ones that are weekend chests or group chests, like the one we have going on right now for the... is it Celebration? Hold on. Yes, Celebration Weekend. This Celebration chest has the potential to have gear in it for all of these champions. However, if you haven't unlocked some of these champions, like specifically Dadius and Beetle and Grim, if you don't have these 2, but you get these 3 automatically, the gear will only be for these 3 champions from this specific Celebration Weekend chest. So when it is a group chest like this, these named group chests, it will only drop gear for champions that you already have unlocked. But when it is named for a specific champion, it will drop that champion's gear and keep it for you, and it will show up when you get there. On my new account, I already have all 6 pieces of gear for Deacon, for instance, and I don't have Deacon. But I have his achievement. That's how I know. Don't understand entering the code. Is this for the in-game chat? Yes. So the code, Codename Entertainment, once again, thank you. They were kind enough, at least for these first 2 episodes, and hopefully going further with this show, to let me pick my own code, which normally they just give us a random one. Today's is I'm #blessed, because that's the focus today was divine favor and blessings. So that's a 16-digit code. So when you enter it in, you do have to switch from the 12-digit cryptex to the 16-digit. It's just a little button down on the side. I can demonstrate. So if we come over here to the shop, enter unlock a chest code, and then from here I switch down here on the left to 16 characters. Now you can enter in the full I'm hashtag blessed. I already tested it though, so I can't demonstrate. Who did I end up getting in my time gate? On my main account, I picked Xander because he had the lowest item levels, but I already had all his gear. On my Gaarawarr account, I haven't done it yet. I've been a little busy prepping for this show, so I'll be picking up more gain though. Because out of my options, that was going to be the best option. There are 75 chest codes on the wiki. Shall I open them all as a new player or save it for later? Open them all. Oh my. Yeah, I opened all of mine on stream the other day on my new account. It's a lot. It's a lot, but I opened every one of them, and it's all worth it because, again, even if it's named for champions that you don't have yet, you get to keep that gear, and it'll be there when they arrive. So open it all, get all those consumables. I recommend opening the silvers when you're pushing and you're at your wall, or you're close to your wall, and you need more gold, because silver chests have gold in it. So early on, hold them for that, and then open it, and then you'll push your wall with that new gear and with the gold. Is there a way to get free familiars, like events or something? Currently, the only way to get free familiars is to buy them with gems in-game. There are 8 gem familiars that start off with the mage hand at 250 gems and then go all the way up to like 150,000 gems or 200,000 gems for the super expensive one. So they're, some are long-term goals, some are easier to pick up at the start. There's also 3 that you can buy from the patrons, 1 from each patron. Presumably there will be 1 from every patron as they add more. Presumably. But you don't necessarily, like the regular events, we don't necessarily get things like that from. You only get champions. Special kind of mini events like we're having right now with the celebration, they tend to give us different stuff. It just depends. Year 1, we got a mimic. We got the happy birthday mimic, but they haven't given a familiar out in them since, unless I'm missing something or forgetting something. Tips for pushing your butt up. Ooh, Jellicle. Generally when you're pushing, it's just about making sure that you're building your formation correctly, and if you have swaps that are debuffers, like say an Ayla or a Warden, where their debuff sticks around after you apply it and then swap them out, that's a good way to increase your bud, which you base ultimate damage for anyone who's forgotten already. That can be a good way to do it. It's really going to depend on what you're doing. Bud spiking as a strategy is usually limited to variants that remove your ability to use certain champions at later points, and then you drop back to where you can use them, spike your bud, move forward with fire breath potions. That's a whole thing. How do you increase the speed of your runs? A couple ways. Dougie D, you can either use speed potions, which you earn out of your chests. They're the consumables that come out of silver and gold chests, and also from things that you buy in the shop. And you can also use champions that have speed effects. So, like in the run I'm doing right now, I'm using multiple champions with speed effects. I've got Havilar, but I don't have her effect on because we're not fighting... or I don't have her imps out. Deacon is a speed champion. Shandy's a speed champion. Sentry has a speed effect. Melf has a speed effect. Briv has a speed effect, but it's currently not active. So you can speed up your runs and make them quicker utilizing those speed champions. There is a guide to like a tier list to speed champions, I believe. Did I finish that one? It might be. Check the Reddit. I think I did that one. Oh, no, I know I did because I put Briv is broken. Yeah. How do I know Deacon and Sentry are working properly? Sentry's super easy to figure out because Sentry reduces the number of things you have to get to move to the next level. So you can see that change. On my screen right now, you should notice when we're on a regular level, comes through again. You see how it says 0 of 17 monsters killed. Normally that would be 25, so Sentry is working there. Deacon increases the speed at which enemies kind of move from the spawn point to the point where they actually get damaged. That one you just kind of got to feel. You can tell if you take him out and you put someone in, you can watch and see. If you've got a major speed buff on him, you can notice. Any plans on increasing viability of Artemis? I don't know. I'm not a developer. Sorry if I gave you that idea. I do a show on their channel, but I am a player from the community who writes guides for the community. When they come back around to reviewing Artemis in whatever year he's in, I can't remember which year champion he is, then maybe they will. He's viable. He's maybe not like, you know, the super major mega person that you want, but like if you're really trying to push super deep, but he's usable. It's just he has a very specific strategy for setting up his formation. I want to do full companions of the hall group, but Annihilation is just too good. I mean, keep in mind, Artemis isn't a companion of the hall. So, you know. Companions of the hall and friends. Sure. Anyone know the downside to Jim as a main DPS? I mean, nowadays, there are a lot of options for magic formations, so I'm not sure if he has any major downsides. The biggest one I can think of is his Wand of Wonder. While it does have the ability to turn things into a chicken, abyssal chicken, which is fantastic because it dies immediately, you can also turn them into a mimic, and those are harder to kill. That would probably be his biggest downside, all other things equal. Yeah. We only got a couple minutes, so it looks like I'm not going to make it through all these questions, but I want to thank everybody for hanging out. I will do as many through here real quick. I'll grab the ones that are quick and easy and helpful for newer players. Is there a calendar for events? I believe there are a couple in different places. If you type, well, actually I can type it in here real quick. Gaarawarr guides. That's going to bring up a link to my page on the Reddit wiki. And all of them are listed off with I think the dates for when they came out last year. And that's going to give you a rough order for them. Can you tell me more about items and upgrading, leveling them? So items are loot that come out of all your chests. The way you upgrade and level them is basically by getting more chests. Every time you get a duplicate item, it's going to increase the item level, which basically increases the power of that item. Item levels are attached to the slot itself, like the item slot itself, which I can show real quick. Here in the collection, this is in the item slot. The levels are attached to this. So if you get like a level 50 white item, but then upgrade to a green, your rarity is increased, and thus the power has increased, the multiplier from the rarity, going from the 20% to 130%. But it still keeps those 50 levels, and you still keep the multiplier from the levels. So that goes all the way up. And then if you get either a shiny, which is a super rare drop, or a golden, which is a purchase, that multiplies the slot as well. So that's how you level up, just by getting items initially, and then by leveling up their rarity, and then all of those duplicates you get from opening up chests over time incrementally raise up the item levels, which buff the item itself. Do you have a list of the best specializations to pick? No, because that's not how you pick specializations. There are a handful of specializations still left in the game that can be argued as being always pick this. But now with almost 70 champions, the majority of the time you need to read the specialization, understand what it's affecting, and understand which one is going to be best in the situation you're in, both in terms of the layout of your formation, the champions in your formation, and the enemies you're fighting. Those can all matter when it comes to choosing your specialization. Let's see, I keep looking all around. I've got chat over here, I've got questions here, and I've got the clock over there, and the clock is winning, it seems. Is it worth going for some achievements like Archon's Fire Breath, Makos' Gold Farm, and Celestial that takes so long? The time it takes is directly related to how far you are in the game. Arguably, you can get Makos' achievement with one Dark Luck Ultimate if you have enough power. Otherwise, you have to farm them out. So there are some that you may just want to wait until you're more powerful. You'll literally slot them in and get it in one shot. So for 1% bonus or 5% or whatever it is, it may not be worth it for you. It may just be something that you want to put in later. I see that Deacon's dying. It's fine. Deacon can die repeatedly. Today he has met his doom, folks. Can I unlock champions? We're going to close on this one. Can I unlock champions just by playing the campaign? You can. There are Evergreen Champions that you get by playing. Dritz is the current Evergreen in the Sword Coast campaign. Azaka and Dragonbait are in the Tomb of Annihilation campaign. And Ulcoria, as somebody asked, we get a double here. Ulcoria is found in the Waterdeep Dragon Heist campaign, all the way at the end of the story. So you can unlock those just by playing. You can unlock Hitch by signing up for the newsletter. Those are the 5 current Evergreen Champions that you can add without needing an event or a time gate to the 12 that you get in when you start the game. Everything else comes from either a time gate or an event. And we are out of time, folks. I apologize that we didn't get through all the questions. I love that you had them, but we will be back again next week. This time, 9 a.m. to 11. If this is the time you can make, if you can't make one of the weekday shows, come back, throw your questions in. Again, I'll try to answer all questions about the topic of our show first, and then I will try to answer the rest as best I can. But know that we have more question and answer type streams like this with people like myself. Mars is on Wednesday afternoons. Yes, Wednesday afternoons with Mars' Guiding Hand. Margaret and Satine are on Wednesday mornings with Evergreen Champions. I'm around a couple times a week on my channel, and then here for Gaarawarr's Guide to Everything on Fridays, and then now the more focused Gaarawarr's Guide on Saturdays. So thank you for coming out and joining us today. I appreciate your time, and I'm sure all of the people who watch the VOD, either here on Twitch or on YouTube later, to learn about these features, appreciate your time and your questions as well. So thanks for coming out. Have a great weekend. I'll see you all next week. Bye, everyone.